Well, we didn't talk about it on yesterday's episode, but what an immaculate trade that has just went down in the MLB. Rafael Devers going to the Giants. Oh my goodness. Now, we were going to talk trades anyway today, because how does this Blue Jays run set them up for the trade deadline? Are they going to make a push? Is this the year to do so? And it all stems back from this Devers trade. A ton to talk about today, and a little story about me, because I'm in the 6 right now.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube or the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well, on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. Make sure you guys do go follow us on there. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, make sure you guys do hit the subscribe button. It does help us out a ton. It's free. You might as well do it. We have seen a lot more of you guys come in. We appreciate that a ton. We've gotten some great messages from you guys lately. If it's on the Twitter, if it's on the Instagram, shoot us those messages. We always appreciate what you guys have to say, and you guys are always super great. So always appreciate those. We just got another one last night, Carter. That was just a super nice text message or DM. So we really do appreciate all of those. And Carter, I mean, there's a lot to get into today. Obviously, I said it, the trades, the Devers situation. How does this affect the Blue Jays? We're the Blue Jays in on that. Now, moving forward, what are the Blue Jays looking for? Is this a push year? Is this a stock up for next year type of trade deadline? Is this a sell? I mean, we'll talk about it all, right? There's a lot of options of what's going to happen this season, and it's getting to that point, right? All-star ballots. Also, if you guys have not done so already, go vote for your Toronto Blue Jays to make the all-star team. I think Vlad is second in voting right now for his category. Kirk is second in his category for voting. So make sure you guys go. I think Addison Barger is climbing up there.
He's
as well.
number 3 on the AL side for third baseman. But we got to talk about this before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Okay.
Anthony Santander is number 5 on the AL DH. How in the world is that possible? I know name value is a big thing for the All-Star game. I think that's why Vladimir is number 2. I'm not sure if he's deserving to be number 2. But Anthony Santander has been nothing short of a bum this season. That's completely straight to the point, and he is 5th on this list. Again, like the names on this list don't they don't pop up the page too much. Like Brent Rooker's under Santander. Don't know how that's happening. Just Brent Rooker continues to get disrespected. Like Mike Talkman's ahead of him. Like Jordan Alvarez. The two right now are Ryan O'Hearn and Ben Rice. Definitely more deserving than Santander. I think almost everyone is more deserving than Anthony Santander. But I saw that, and I just thought it was absolutely wild that this guy could even be considered to be an all-star in 2025 with the production that he's had.
This is what happens when you got a whole country behind your team, right? You get a ton more votes, right? It isn't broken up into these little divisions.
What kind of Blue Jays fans are voting for this guy, though? I don't think it's Blue Jays fans. I think it's random MLB fans. They're like, this guy's a DH. He was good. He had 44 home runs last year. Let's just vote him again. Why not?
You know what? I was doing my voting cards, and I try to be realistic, right? Because I am a Blue Jays fan through and through, but I am a baseball fan. And if a guy's not having a good season, I'm not putting them on my card. Of course, Kirk's getting my vote. Vladdy's getting my vote. Bo's getting my vote. All of these guys, your rock steady players, they're getting votes. But am I going to go down the list and give a vote out to Andrus Gimenez? No. Anthony Santander? No. So again, it's a bit of a crapshoot when it comes to all-star voting, but a lot to get into, Carter. And I mean, this is classic Blue Jays fashion. It feels like whenever there's an off day or, we get a couple minutes to talk where it's not like, we have 4 games to break down. This insane thing happened, and of course trades is insane and getting, closer and closer to the deadline. It is crazy. But I have to tell this story because I am in Toronto right now. For those of you watching this or listening, whatever, I'm in Toronto. I'm in some random meeting room at a random hotel that we had to book. Shout out my dad because he came in clutch. So we were in Rome, and I'm just going to tell the story. I'll get it out of the way quick, and then we'll get into everything. But it was just a wild day. So I told Carter, I said, don't worry. I'll be back late on Monday night. We'll record the pod. I'll edit it, get it up, all good. Back to business as usual here on the podcast. We're in Rome. We get there super early. We have to check out of the hotel early, so we get to the airport early. Like 3.5, 4 hours early. Insane amount of time early. Then the flight gets delayed by an hour. We're like, okay, we can still make our connecting flight from Toronto back to Winnipeg. Oh, it gets delayed again. Okay, it's getting close, but we should have enough time. Gets delayed again. Then they're like, oh, we'll board you in 15 minutes. Oh, we'll board you in 15 minutes. Oh, we'll board you in 15 minutes. And then it was like, okay, we're missing our connecting flight here. Air Canada, which usually I have no problem with, absolute bums to handle this situation. So it was horrific. We get to Toronto, whatever. It's great. I love the city. I said it's nice to be back in your country. It's just a feel. It's just a different feeling in the air. Actually, even the humidity, Carter, was insane. So even getting back here was like, oh, thank God we're back in Canada. So just a crazy day. Coming back tomorrow, we got a 12:30 flight. Get back. I'll have about two hours. Then me and Carter got to leave. We play baseball tomorrow night or tonight as well, as you guys are watching this. So it's a whirlwind, and then back to, life as usual here. So it's been a crazy day, but it's never a bad day when you get to spend a little bit extra time in Toronto, I guess.
Yeah, we're expecting some boots on the ground at the Rogers Center. I don't care how far of a walking distance it is. You got to get over there. You got to worship the boys on their home series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Maybe you'll see a couple guys downtown, and they can ask you for your autograph, not the other way around. But let's just dive right into it. Yeah, a little bit of obviously unfortunate circumstances here for Brayden, but he's still grinding, kind of back at it, getting. We're close to getting the regular scheduled programming back. This is about as close as it's going to get before we do get it back. So thank you guys again for hanging with us during guest week and then obviously right now as well. But the trade deadline is slowly coming up. We still do have a little bit of time between here and now. But right now, a lot of people are talking about the needs on this Toronto Blue Jays team, whether that's pitching, whether that's bullpen arms, whether that is positional needs. There's one glaring need, obviously, on this team right now. I don't think that is necessarily up for discussion. But, Brayden, I'll phrase this to you first. What are the positional needs at the trade deadline for the Toronto Blue Jays, and what should be their first target if they were to make a trade?
Oh, I mean, it's again, it's tough. Obviously, it's starting pitching. Obviously, you need somebody to come in and fill those spots because you don't know what Max Scherzer is going to bring. You don't know what Bowden Francis is going to give you on a day-to-day basis. You don't know how Alek Manoah is going to be back when he is finally set to return. So there's a lot of what ifs right now with the starting pitching, and that is one that is a must. It is an absolute must because if you're going down the stretch and you need to win ball games, those fourth and fifth starter guys, or again, maybe you bring in a very highly touted arm, and that can help you into the playoffs. That's probably the number one goal. You want a guy you can trot out there that is going to give you an absolute stellar performance. Also, Carter, obviously, I mean, there's a couple other ones. Your outfield, right? A power bat in general is something that is a must need. If you are going to make a push right now this season, a power bat is an absolute need. This team needs to hit home runs. We saw how successful they can be when they do hit home runs. But it's been so inconsistent. You need a very consistent hitter here. I'm not going out and giving somebody or making a trade for somebody that, maybe they'll hit a ton of home runs. Maybe they'll be good in the playoffs. No, I want a trade made for a power hitter that is, highly touted, that has done this before. So again, that's definitely one of the looks you can get. And then probably if you're going to a trade deadline, there's probably going to be a bullpen arm addition, I would assume, probably, in a higher somewhat leverage. It's not going to be a Hoffman. It's not going to be a Jimmy Garcia. It's probably not even going to be a Brayden Little, what he's been doing this season, but they'll probably give an addition there as well. And I don't think any of those things are up for debate, Carter. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but.
So do you have like the Blue Jays getting it looks like you're kind of going for like these blockbuster deals here. You're looking more so for like a top tier guy in the starting rotation. You said power bat's a must as well. And then you're also going with some depth pieces here. For me, I don't know if I'm saying that this team for sure needs those specific positions. For sure you need a pitcher. I think if this team was looking for the short term, an ace would be unbelievable for this team. But like, obviously the problem is what kind of ace are you going to get, especially with the teams that are selling at the deadline. So if when you kind of put this to reality, it doesn't necessarily work as much. But let's pretend there is the perfect scenario. There's an ace out there for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think if you're going to sign an ace right now, I think you probably would want him to be under contract for a fairly long time, especially with the class that is coming up. Like you have Michael King that should be a free agent. Dylan Cease, Framber Valdez is another arm there. You got guys like Seth Lugo. Like there are some guys, again, that are more middle leverage guys, middle tier guys in that starting rotation. So I think, again, if you're going to go in on an ace, that would be a huge add for this team, but I just don't fail to see how realistic that is. And obviously the haul that you're going to need to give up, because every team is always looking for pitching at this trade deadline. That is going to be no different here. So I think you'd have to give up a boatload. I think it starts with Arjun Amala, probably Trey Savage, and then you have to obviously add some talent into there as well. Unless maybe you're dealing with the Red Sox, maybe you get Garrett Crochet for like, I don't know, Alan Rowan or something like that. But we'll talk about that later on. So for me, I don't think that's as realistic for this team as much as it would be great to add an ace to this team. I think what they are going to end up doing is they're going to add a fourth or fifth starter for this rotation, because you do have Max Scherzer coming back. You do have Alek Manoah. You do have options. Just how reliable are these options? I think that is the biggest problem for the Toronto Blue Jays right now. So I think what they would try to do is they would try to get somebody who, again, doesn't get injured a ton, can stabilize that back end of the rotation, is going to be a guy that gives you innings, not necessarily the swing and miss stuff, but a guy that you can put out there and be confident that for sure he's going to give you at minimum 4 innings. Because right now with, again, you have Max Scherzer coming back, you have Bowden Francis, who is, again, at most, a wild card with the way he's pitching right now. So there's, again, some options here that you have, but I think if the Toronto Blue Jays were going to target a position, that would be the back end of their starting rotation. And I'll just quickly kind of go over that power bat thing. Yeah. I think if you're going to get a power bat at the trade deadline, same sort of ideas that you'd have to give up a boatload to get that power bat, and just the options that kind of would be out there. Right now, when you look at the standings, it still is very early on, so it's not fully decided on who's going to be a buyer, who's going to be a seller, who is going to be in that middle. But like you have the Angels, you have the Pirates, you have the Marlins, the Athletics, the White Sox, just kind of going off the top of my head. So like there's not a ton of teams here that you can kind of look at. Maybe the Royals end up being sellers. That kind of does open up some options here as well. But I think that when you're looking at this team right now, instead of going even with a power bat, I'd be a little bit more inclined to go for that leadoff hitter, that Ben Revere type of trade that the Toronto Blue Jays did make in 2015. The problem is, again, what are the options for that? But you see, for me, the hole in this lineup right now is that you can always add more power. But if you have Bichette hitting 2, Vladdy hitting 3, and he starts heating up, Santander, if he starts heating up hitting 4, then you can get a guy who does walk more, sees a little bit more pitches, especially early on in games. The only gripe I really have with Bichette is that sometimes he is that free swinger, which is a good thing. You don't want to take that away from Bo, but as a leadoff hitter, if he's, one pitch out, it's not exactly what you want to see. So that would be my 2, is a back-end starter. And then if they could make it work, would be that leadoff prototypical hitter.
So again, this is my ideal situation. Now, this is where everything comes into play. There are a lot of stipulations to any trade that is going to be made here, and a lot of questions around what this team is going to be. So number one, how successful realistically is this team going to do in the playoffs? How sure are we that this is a successful playoff team, if you want to say? Because if not, then why are you giving up a ton of pieces? If you're not 100% convinced that this team has a chance to go to the World Series, then I don't know if giving away a bunch of young talent right now, especially with how some of these guys are doing, I don't know if giving them away is the best option. Same type of deal here. Long-term or short-term. You got players coming off the books next year and the following year. So Is this a hey, we're going to pay some guys or we're going to trade for guys that have a lot of years left on their deal? Or are we looking for a hey, we just need somebody for this season, right? Like a David Price type of trade, and that would be on the higher end. You're looking at like an ace in that situation, right? But is that the route you're going? Where hey, we're going to trade for this guy just for this year because this is our year. Now, in my head, do I believe that this is the Toronto Blue Jays year? I think that they can be successful, but if I'm putting all my eggs in a basket, I don't know if I'm putting it in this season. I can see this team, and I think there can be success. And obviously, any team, if you make it to the dance, you can sometimes make something work. But I don't know. You got to be certain with certain things like this. So I guess long-term, short-term, there's those questions. How confident are you in this group of players? And what are you willing to give up? These are all major questions as we go forward to the trade deadline. And I guess, Carter, what I want to start next segment off, and I guess I'll leave it till then because it's a little bit bigger of a question for you, but it leads back into the trades here. So I think let's take a quick break. I want to get your response on the other side just to what I said just now, and then I'll get into sort of the big question for segment 2, because I think as a fan base right now, this might be the most important question that we should be asking ourselves right now. But we'll be right back with more.
Today's episode is sponsored by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the most reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's SH5 for 5% off your first order, and that is at supplyhouse.com.
So, Carter, just continuing on, again, I do want to get into the big question of segment 2. I think that is probably on the top of all fans' minds right now. We've gotten some comments sort of directed to that, and obviously over guest week, we had some people mentioning that. And, you know, I'm in the comments section even when I'm not on the podcast. I'm on Twitter. I'm sort of everywhere, right? Me and you are texting constantly throughout the week that I was gone. So it's my big question. I think it relates to all the fans listening and watching all the games. So, but before we get into that, I guess off of just what I said in the last segment there, sort of capping things off with a lot of unknowns, I guess, right now. Is that sort of how you're feeling too?
Yeah, you brought up something about not putting all of your eggs in this basket this season. And when I kind of want to take a step back and just look around at the teams in the AL, for example. Like, who are you necessarily scared of in the AL? So right now, the Detroit Tigers, they have a very good pitching staff. Their lineup right now has achieved expectations. Gleyber Torres going to be an all-star. Kerry Carpenter having a good season. So that is one team I think that would the Toronto Blue Jays would struggle against, especially hitting off Tyrese Google. I think that's a guy that, again, can easily take over a game. I don't know if the Toronto Blue Jays necessarily have that, and that's something that I have gone over on a couple episodes previously. New York Yankees always going to be a team that gives you a hard time. I don't care who's hurt on that team. I don't care how well they're playing or how bad they're playing at that point. You have Aaron Judge. You always have a chance to do some damage in the playoffs. Maybe, again, not last year, what you saw from him, but it's Aaron Judge. I think it's a little bit easier to bet on him than not to. But other than that, let's be honest, like the Tampa Bay Rays deciding that they're going to maybe sneak into the playoffs here again. If the Toronto Blue Jays play them, that's a team that I'm definitely worried about, especially if they do not have home field advantage. But the Astros, like maybe a team that you're a little bit worried of. The Mariners, if you see that team just with the history, maybe the Twins a little bit there as well. But there's not a lot of teams right now that are like jumping off of the page. And I'm like, my God, I would hate to play that team in the AL. When you look at the NL, it's a little bit of a different story. But at least in that point, you only have one series where you got to beat one team, whether that is the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Padres. Going to be a good team. The Phillies, lots of teams that could be. Going to be a good team over there. But you get to the World Series, I don't think a lot of fans, whether you win or lose, you want to win, obviously. But whether you win or lose, this team makes the World Series. I think that will exceed a lot of fans' expectations. So in the AL, at least, like this team has a good shot to go fairly deep. It's just, how do you value this consistency and just the talent levels of this team right now? Is it enough that you can go all in on an ace and get that power hitter and give up some of the future? Especially, again, when you look at next year's off season, you look at that free agent class, there's a lot of aces that you could go get. There's a couple power hitters you could go get. Kyle Tucker is available. And we can kind of think of if he's going to come here. I don't really think so. Kyle Schwarber is a guy that would be unbelievable in this lineup. So there are some guys next year that you can go in, that you can get, and you can get for free. You don't have to give up assets for it. So for me right now, I think, again, it's still too early for me fully to decide if you're going to put all eggs in your basket. I think this team is going to compete for the playoffs. I think they're going to be right around that hump of getting into the playoffs, maybe even competing for the division, depending on how good the Yankees end up doing. But overall, I think it's a wait and see game. And if you do play this brand of baseball and you continue to have a good series back to back, and maybe you're 10, 15 games over 500, that's a different conversation that you could have. And maybe it would be time for the Toronto Blue Jays team to go all in and really bolster that offense and that starting rotation.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. And you know what? That's something also we have to think about, right? We don't necessarily sometimes I get in the mode of, I think I start looking at the Dodgers, I start looking at the Phillies, I start looking at some of these other teams, and I'm like, oof, that is going to be a tough teams to beat in the playoffs. But you're right, you only got to play them in one series. And if you get the better of them, which we've seen the Jays get the better of the Phillies in one series.
And the Padres they swept. I don't care how bad they're hitting, but
yeah, you're right. And that's all it takes. So that's a great point by you. Hat tips to you on that one, because you're right. How scared of you are of the AL are you? That's a big question. But Carter, the big question. This is the one I have been wanting to ask you. I swear to God, for this entire week, because it's been in the back of my mind, and I'm happy you guys did touch on it. But I know I saw comments and other things online about it. Is how much does the Blue Jays winning here now determine what they're going to do around the trade deadline? Because I saw a lot of people saying that this series shows that this team can compete, and this shows that this team will be a big-time buyer at the deadline. And that, I think it was, there was a Blue Jays MLB insider that said, oh, look out for the Blue Jays now at the trade deadline because of this stretch, because they have now seen success and continued success. And again, I think we get lost a little bit now. Like, we even see it in some of our views on our videos, right? Of the Blue Jays going a super heater and we're getting a ton of views, and all of a sudden they lose a series to the Phillies, and it's like, oh, well, the Blue Jays are back to being the Blue Jays. So I guess, do you think the determining factor when we look back at this post-trade deadline will be this stretch of baseball that this team has played that has now pushed them into the super big-time buying market to compete for this playoffs?
I think absolutely we'll look back at the stretch, and that will be the conclusion that we reach. Just brought it up on the last podcast that you look back at these last 10 series, every single team other than one is 500 or better. And that one team that wasn't was the Tampa Bay Rays, and look where they are now. They're 8 games over 500. So clearly there was some potential there. You win majority of those series, and now we went over the schedule in that last episode. The stretch coming up where you play the Angels, the White Sox, and the Athletics. That is where you can take advantage. You show that you can compete against some opponents. You show that you can compete against teams that are over 500, teams that you might end up playing in the playoffs. Teams can definitely change a whole lot from now until then. So they can add at the trade deadline. There's injuries, stuff can happen. So again, when you look at what these rosters look like now compared to later, that is tough to tell because they're a lot, again, things can change. It's baseball. Injuries happen. So right now, when we're looking at this Toronto Blue Jays team, I think that they will be in a spot where they should be buyers at the deadline. Right now, they're 5 games over 500. The schedule gets a little bit easier at that point. If they're even flirting with the idea of being 500, even if they're, I'd say, 1 or 2 games below, I think they'll still probably be buyers at the trade deadline. This front office still does have a little bit of the spotlight on them. They still do have some pressure from the fan base and obviously the higher ups on top of them. So I think Ross Atkins will be inclined to buy at this trade deadline, kind of just to save his job at the end of the day, as long as the Toronto Blue Jays are competitive.
You know what? I forget sometimes that me and you do so many episodes of this podcast that sometimes we're just on the same wavelength on thoughts, because that's exactly where I was going next. I completely see this as because of this last stretch of games, is now Ross Atkins green light, do what you can, save your job, put all your eggs in the basket, because if this ends up being non-successful, that could be your job. So I think 100% this gives Ross Atkins the green light. Hey, we've seen this team succeed in a consistent span. Now we buy at the deadline, we make a push. And I think that if he's able to do that and the Blue Jays are able to get out of the first round of the playoffs, again, I think we're seeing another year or so, a couple of years of Ross Atkins, because again, maybe he does make the right decision. Maybe this gives them the, hey, green light, all in mentality. I think that's what's setting up here for the trade deadline for sure, Carter. I think this is going to be, we said last trade deadline was crazy because, people were going, in and out all the time, and we were having a ton of guys traded away. This year, I think, is going to be the complete opposite. It's going to be just as wild, just as crazy, but the Blue Jays going all in.
Well, and you have some assets now because you had a pretty good draft class coming in. Trey Savage, again, probably untouchable, at least for me. And then Cal Steven looks really good. Johnny King just casually throwing 98, and it looks like he's commanding it very well as well. So those are your top 3 picks, or top 3 at least prospects from that draft class that look very good right now. Gage Stanifer's looking really good in high A. You have that 3-headed monster down there. You have a lot of fringe MLB players like Alan Roden, John Teclase that have shown you glimpses. Aston Barger could be thrown to that. I don't really think he is. I think that's another untouchable at this point. Maybe Alek Manoah's name is floated around there. You got Adam Mako that came back, Brandon Barriera. There's a few guys that have come back that you can kind of throw into this mix now. And maybe if you do make this big blockbuster trade, maybe you do go and add some guys that will be here for more longer term than shorter term. Maybe that's some incentive for a guy that's contracts coming up at the end of the season to come back and play for your baseball team if he knows that they are going to be a contender for the next couple of seasons. So a bunch of things that need to be considered with this team is how good they are at the top point of the trade deadline. Again, what's the feeling? What's the injury scenarios like? Who's buyers? Who's sellers? What does the market like? There's so much more to be discovered, and it all really depends on what caliber of baseball the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be playing in this next month stretch.
Yeah, Carter, and I guess just talking about that, right? We got a series to preview, right? The D-backs come to town, and this is a team I think that is gettable. I think they're not a horrible team, and when I look at teams possibly the Blue Jays could be trading with, the D-backs come up, as well as a team that's been on my radar a little bit for trade targets. It is the Cardinals as well, Carter, and this is just a little bit of a deep dive. I went and listened to Locked On Cards and another one of the Cardinals ones, I think when it was around that series. And it just so happened that I caught a little bit of, if the Cards aren't in the playoffs, maybe there's a Blue Jays Cardinals trade looking. So again, keep your eye out for all of that. Any whispers or anything like that. I just think those are 2 possible teams that very well could be on the radar of this baseball club. So, but in saying all that, Carter, do you have anything else before we kick things over to the series preview here?
It depends if you want me to go over my trade scenario now, or if you want me to wait to go over that. Sorry, Jesus Christ, having a little bit of a stroke there. To go over that in the third segment.
No,
that's why the English is only B-.
Throw it to me now.
We'll dive into it. So we were not able to cover this on the last episode because we pretty much finished recording, and then 2 minutes later, Brayden's like, "Oh my God, did you see what happened?" And you guys probably know what we're about to talk about. It's all that's really been going on in the MLB right now, and it is the Rafael Devers trade. Kind of out of nowhere. It is and it isn't, because you did hear about the backstory with the Rafael Devers not being happy with third base, that bringing in Alex Bregman for $40 million. They included an opt-out clause there. Like, this is completely separate, but why would Alex Bregman opt out of $40 million? Like, that, he has it for the next 2 seasons. Like, you're going to take that as any baseball player ever, but that's besides the point. Devers not happy with the current situation there, was predominantly playing DH. And then clearly he made a big enough stink that Red Sox front office decided to trade him once again. Another blockbuster trade. Mookie Betts, obviously, before being traded, Babe Ruth way back when, being another trade that people aren't too fond of. And now you add this one kind of the mix as well. We're going to have to see how it does pan out, but I'll quickly go over it here. The star slugger, Rafael Devers, obviously was traded to the San Francisco Giants. The Giants look like a little bit of a wagon now. I'm not going to lie. That's a huge addition for that team that was kind of struggling to hit. But what did the Red Sox get back in this deal? They got Jordan Hicks, who is kind of a bum. Not going to lie, does have some velocity, but obviously as Blue Jays fans, we have some familiarity with this guy. Then you have lefty Kyle Harrison, who, from everything I've seen, from his tape and everything, from scout analysis, from just insider analysts talking about this guy, seems like kind of a middle tier starter. At most, going to be a third starter, maybe fourth starter at this point. The big piece here is James Tibbs. The third, he is the Giants' number 4 ranked prospect. He is supposed to be a power hitter, supposed to be a guy that should be an all-around pretty good baseball player. And then you have righty Jose Bayo, who don't know a ton about, does have more strikeouts than innings pitched. He's pitching in high A, I believe. So when I looked at this trade, don't know how you don't get Eldridge from the Giants here. You don't get their number 1 rated prospect. Does not make any sense to me. Jordan Hicks, don't think he's going to be that good. In totality, I think the Red Sox might have got a little bit Mookie Betts here again. I don't think it's going to be as bad necessarily, but I do think that when you trade the best player, when you have the best player traded in this trade, it's not going to your team. I don't think a lot of times things do end up well for you. So we talked about prospects and the possibility of trading Vladdy when this was a huge discussion, is that prospects are lottery tickets. Is Tibbs going to turn out well? we're going to have to see. Still a lot of time before he does go to the major leagues. But
just
quickly,
a quick
throw it
thing, just on the Tibbs situation, and I think this is 100%. This is a throw in the towel on this situation by the Red Sox. Their backs were against the wall. They felt like they didn't know what to do with Devers. They thought it was just going to be a media spin the whole time, probably. And this was I'm done with this guy. I'm done dealing with him. Which we saw coming a mile away, to be honest. As soon as this third base stuff kicked off and he was being so outwardly to the media, I could have seen this coming a mile away. Maybe not to this extent. This is a bad trade, and I will straight up say that this is a bad trade. But I think they were just so over it. And on the Tibbs part of it, Saul, I did a little bit of looking and just a couple of videos on when guys have talked about him. And pretty much what I can get from this is that he is a good MLB player. That's what he'll be. That's his ceiling. Will he win awards and be the best player in your baseball team? No, he won't. So this is just a very strange trade. But anyway, back to you. I'm blown away. You saw my reaction yesterday after the podcast, and I was like, what in the world? When they said the main piece was Jordan Hicks, I almost threw up on my computer.
Yeah, I thought you were joking, actually, when you said that initially, but obviously you were not joking, and this is a real thing. We're pretty happy about it because Devers gets out of the AL. He gets out of the AL East, which is awesome. The Red Sox do add a little bit to the prospect pool. So clearly, I think that for me, it's like this is a punt move. It doesn't seem like they're going to compete for this season, even though they did make a lot of splashes in free agency. But that's besides the point. Yankees fans will be pretty happy that he's gone as well. But whenever trades like this happen, I always think, why couldn't the Toronto Blue Jays do that? Well, when you look at it, they're in division. Like, the Red Sox are not going to trade their superstar to the Jays. I understand that. But you always got to have fun with these. And I tried to make, as close as I could, a similar trade that the Toronto Blue Jays could have offered the Boston Red Sox to get Rafael Devers. Just, oh my God, Bichette, Rafael Devers, Vladdy, Santander, if he's actually hitting. Addison Barger, Alejandro Kirk, Jesus Christ. Like, I might have an aneurysm just thinking about it. But let's just get into the trade and what I think would be relatively close to what the San Francisco Giants did have to give up. So for this one, for the Jordan Hicks one, I did think about Bowden Francis here. I think if he was a little bit better recently, I think it could work because Jordan Hicks has not been very good, a little bit older as well. They're relatively close in age, but I did end up going with Yariel Rodriguez here. I think this is a guy that, again, has been transformed into a starter before. Jordan Hicks is a starter right now. It's not going very well necessarily, but a lot of this could be a contract dump as well. So that's why I have Yariel Rodriguez, not a huge cap hit, but I have him throw it in here just for a little bit of stability for that Red Sox rotation. Berrios was linked to the Red Sox a lot. I don't think any scenario with Berrios in here would have kind of made sense for the Jays. Maybe you take out a prospect, but I'm not going to put Berrios in mine here. As for Kyle Harrison, the Toronto Blue Jays don't really have anyone like that other than Jake Bloss, but Jake Bloss is undergoing Tommy John surgery. So again, maybe if you present that's not happening, maybe he's included in this, but I went with Alek Manoah, a little bit of a weird one here, going to come back, has had some success, has a little bit more of an upside than Kyle Harrison does. The floor is, again, you kind of seen how bad Manoah can be. But this was a tough one here. I did go with Alek Manoah, but I think Jake Bloss would be another good option here. For the Tibbs part of it, I decided to go with, you could have gone with Elvis Martinez, but he wasn't drafted this year. So I decided to go with Cal Steven, a guy that is going to be very good, I think, as well, is one of the best Toronto Blue Jays prospects. Will continue to jump up the rankings, probably be a top 100 prospect. And he just will end up being very good, and it was drafted this year. And the last one I went with the Bayo one, I just went with Charles McAdoo here. I think you have some upside, a guy that's not necessarily proven, not in AAA. So in totality, what my trade would be is Yariel Rodriguez, Alek Manoah, could flip Jake Bloss, Cal Steven, and Charles McAdoo for Rafael Devers. Could throw Berrios in there as well. But I just wanted to phrase it over to you. Is that something similar to that even? Is that something that you would accept as a Toronto Blue Jays fan? And would you even think about making that trade if you were the GM of the Boston Red Sox?
As for the Blue Jays, absolutely. You could have thrown in a couple more pieces and I still would have been okay with it. Imagine that lineup. You went over it. Having Bichette, Devers, Vladdy, Santander, Kirk, Varsho, Springer when he's playing well. I don't know. This team, I would think this team's damn near unstoppable. Like that would be my thought on this offense. If they were all going, oh my God. So no, you could have thrown, I don't want to say Arjun Namala because I'm super excited about him and what he could be.
It didn't even take the top prospect from the Giants. I know they have a little bit better of a prospect pool than we do, but That's why I didn't feel like I had to include Trey Savage or Arjun Namal. And maybe you do Berrios and like an Elvis Martinez and a Cal Steven. Maybe you structure a little bit differently. But I tried to keep the 4 players for one kind of structure that the Red Sox and the Giants had.
And that's what I mean. Even if it was Elvis Martinez, I'm sorry. I'm 100% pulling the trigger as the Blue Jays. As the Red Sox, I don't know. I don't know how you – what I've heard is that they went to the Giants with this. Now, if that's the case, shop them around a little bit.
Devers must have wanted to play there. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Yes, I don't understand it at all. This doesn't make any sense. I think it's a horrible trade. I have a friend at work. He's a Red Sox fan. He must be rolling over in his grave. I'll shout him out. Christian O'Mell, host of the 680 CJB Sports Show. I haven't talked to him about it yet. Obviously, I've been away, and I pretty much my entire text messages have all been to Carter talking about Blue Jay stuff. So I have not reached out to him. I cannot wait for Wednesday. I will be producing that show, and I cannot wait to find out how he feels. I bet you he is losing it right now. So no, terrible by the Red Sox. I think I don't know. I don't know what the final touch to all of this was that made him a Giant. But as if I was the Blue Jays, 100%, I'm pulling the trigger on that. You could throw in Elvis Martinez. You could throw Jake Bloss. I don't care if it was Jake Bloss, Elvis Martinez, Cal Stevens, and McAdoo as well. I don't care. Yes. Easy, Carter. Easy.
Yeah, and some people might say, oh, that's not fair. Why would the Boston Red Sox ever accept that? Well, they accepted the one with the Giants. So there you go. That's my only reasoning there for that one. So it would be an interesting scenario. I think the only problem with the Berrios part of it, if he was included, is who in the hell did the Toronto Blue Jays pitch? Like this year might be a little bit of a throwaway. But you got Rafael Devers for another 8 seasons. So, I mean, I think after this would be 7, but it doesn't matter. You have him for a very long time. So I don't think Toronto Blue Jays fans would be too upset with trading again. A very reliable guy in Jose Berrios, but when you get a guy like Rafael Devers, that doesn't really come around the block every single day. So you would have to take advantage of that. This is very hypothetical because it just would never happen. That's like the Yankees fans thinking Vladdy was going to get traded to the Yankees. Would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. You have to throw that ricochet shot in there. I'll throw one more shot. We saw a lot of Red Sox posters that had the big 3, and it was Juan Soto, Rafael Devers, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. How's that going, Red Sox fans? How's that going? How are you guys feeling about that poster right now?
You know what? I was going to say I feel bad. I don't, because it's the Red Sox.
I don't at all. I love it.
But oh my goodness, if you're a fan of that team, we are friends with quite a few Red Sox fans out there. So, holy smokes, we might have to have one of them on just to hear them cry into the microphone. But anyway, Carter, a lot more to get into. Obviously, series preview still ahead. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed all of that. It is a lot hypothetical, but it's where we are at in this season, right? What do the Toronto Blue Jays do? What is their long-term solution? What is for the short term? What can be done, and how excited are you for the trade deadline? Like I said, I think this could be just as big as last year, but in the opposite direction, where this team gets better and not, worse. So again, we're trading away big pieces. I don't want to say better or worse because I think the trades were good last year, but we'll talk more of that coming up as the season progresses. We'll get more and more into that, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the series preview. Today's episode is brought to you by Open Phones. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? I wouldn't have. I got 4 guys in a small town that could do it. I'm going to get the guy who picks up first. If you like I said, that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need Open Phone. I'm telling you guys, this is huge. This is massive for any business. This is something you absolutely need because I'm terrible. With the TikTok and the scrolling, my attention span is 0. If I don't get an answer, I'm just gonna call the next guy. I do that for lunch. If the place is gonna take too long for me to get my food, I'll go to the next place. Open Phone is offering Locked On Blue Jays listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedon MLB. That's open, OPENPHONE.com/lockedon MLB. And if you have an existing number with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no additional charge. So that's huge too. This is a great service. I'm telling you guys, if you have a business, this is the one to do, especially 20% off your first 6 months is a steal. No missed calls, no customers, no missed customers. That's open phones. So, Carter, a little series preview. I feel like I'm sort of getting back in the groove. I'm a little bit, I feel like I'm a little bit all over the map today, just with thoughts and stuff like that. But, I hope you guys can forgive me not doing this for a week. I hope to get back to regular season form here right away. I took a 6-day IL stint and
7-day IL concussion protocol. We'll say
perfect. Yeah,
there's some personal issues. Just the last time I think you had a 1-dayer last year at some point. You expanded that just a little bit. Only 6 times that amount.
It is what it is. We can only do so much out here. But no, you guys did it. I got to give you another big shout out. You did a fantastic job with the guest week. I know that's tough because it's bringing in a new guy every single day. Those guys are fantastic. John Jay, huge shout out to him. Skylar Peters, that's my guy. He's an absolute G. Did some ad reads for you as well, so that's nice. And Tristan Baranowski, getting him on once in a while, getting another face to surround this podcast with is always great. But Carter, in saying all of that, series preview time, big guy.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, you might have to go on vacation more often because it brings out the best in the Toronto Blue Jays. But we'll dive right into the series preview. So for the first game, the Toronto Blue Jays back at the Rogers Center, you got Brandon Fod versus Jose Berrios, Chris Bassitt, Brandon Fod. There you go. Come out right that time. That will be the first game of the series. Then you have Eduardo Rodriguez. You might recognize that name, was on the Boston Red Sox in 2021, 2019. So Bichette and Vladimir might know him. Other than that, I guess Springer's there too. Seems a lot of turnover on the Toronto Blue Jays, but that is against to be determined. Will be Erik Lauer, probably Spencer Turnbull in there. Kind of what we have been accustomed to seeing the last couple of weeks here. And then for that last game, you got Ryan Nelson versus Kevin Gausman. Pretty good pitching matchups for the Toronto Blue Jays here. You can be a little bit more optimistic than you could have been the last few series against the Twins, against the Phillies especially. Hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays can take advantage. Like you look at Eduardo Rodriguez, he has a 6.27 ERA. You look at Brandon Fod, he's got 5.5. Like not great numbers from a lot of these guys. Do have a little bit more potential. I think Rodriguez just sucks, honestly. I think Fod can be better, but huge advantage for the Toronto Blue Jays to take advantage of a D-backs team.
I couldn't agree more, Carter. This is a stretch of baseball where this team needs to kick it into high gear, get as many wins as possible, rack them up. I don't think the D-backs are that great of a team. I know that there are fans.
There's some injuries right now too.
They do.
They do. Out there,
but I just even still, I don't think this is the best team in the league. I think they are very middle of the pack, sort of. I think they're a lesser Toronto Blue Jays right now. So hopefully that means the Toronto Blue Jays can pick up some wins. Obviously, you got the White Sox after, and then the Cleveland Guardians, who I think I'm actually going to go on their show, the Locked On Guardians show. So when that series kicks off. So me and Carter will maybe hop on together and we'll have some fun with those boys over there. And we'll have a good time. But in saying that, Carter, I couldn't agree more. I think this is a must-win series for the Blue Jays. I think this stretch of baseball needs to be not just a stretch series win, if you want to say it, in the next 3 or 4. I think you need to take as many games as physically possible. The pitching matchups are in your favor. I just think heading into All-Star break, trade deadline, all of that coming up, not right away, but getting there, this is the time. If you're going to be a buyer, you have to prove not only to the fan base, but to Ross Atkins and everybody that this team can win and can be successful. So I'm looking for Vladdy here, Carter. I want to see the power pop off here. This is a prove it moment here in this season. Can Vladdy lead this team to some playoff success? And I think it all starts here by putting up some big numbers on some teams you probably should.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Must win first game of the series. You got to get back on track after a sweep. You got to win this series. It all really comes down to, I think, that first game. You started on a good foot. I'm going to be optimistic for the rest of this homestand. I'm going to be optimistic that this team can at least win 2 out of 3 against the White Sox as well. Hopefully get a sweep against the Chicago White Sox, the way this team has been kind of beaten up on the worst teams when they have been playing them. But for this one, I got 2 out of 3. Like I said, you got to win the first game. I think the Lauer Hour will do enough in that outing to get the Toronto Blue Jays to win. If you're betting on FanDuel, bet the over, hammer the over. Holy crap, there's going to be a million runs in that game. And then Kevin Gausman, I think he's just going to get screwed, honestly. I think the Toronto Blue Jays offense isn't necessarily going to put up a ton of runs. It's baseball. You lose some games. You're not going to win every single series, but a 2 out of 3 series win against the D-backs would put this team back on track, especially going against the Chicago White Sox coming up. little bit of a softer schedule for this team. So a lot to look forward to and a lot to take advantage of for the Toronto Blue Jays. But just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, all the support recently has been much appreciated. We're kind of getting back to the regularly scheduled programming. We got Brayden on, obviously, for the rest of this week. I haven't really left, so I don't plan on leaving. So, again, maybe knock on wood for that one. Hopefully nothing bad happens to me, but I plan on being here for a while. So you'll be accustomed to what you've really seen from us for the last year and a half. So back to the basics, back to seeing the Toronto Blue Jays play baseball day in and day out, back to the grind. You guys are here with us. We appreciate that a ton. Leave us your perspectives on just what the Toronto Blue Jays need at this trade deadline. What are your positions of need? What you thought about my Rafael Devers trade, just that trade in general, if that blew your mind as much as it did for us. The best part about this podcast for us, that listening to your guys' perspectives, getting the new perspectives that we've already gotten on this podcast, whether it's from guests, whether it's from the people commenting, whether it's from people saying that we're idiots. I don't care what it is. I love seeing how people feel about this team right now, especially when they're playing good baseball. But Brayden, is there anything else that you want to kind of throw in here before we do take off for this episode?
No, you know what? I just, again, all the big shout outs to Carter, to the guest hosts that were on, to all of you guys. I got some comments even, just that I love to see, even, if it was based on the guest that was on, you guys, hyping them up. That was fantastic. I bet it was great to see for them. And just the great job that Carter's done over this past week. And yeah, I'm back. I'm ready to go. You know what? In my head, I've never left. I would think I was sleeping doing episodes in my head. So yeah, I'm fired up. I'm ready to be back, ready to rock. And we'll continue on here. We're going to have a great time. Hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays can pick up some wins. But other than that, big guy, I think let's kick out of here. We've kept the people long enough, as we usually do. And it's, one of these episodes post off day here. So again, like Carter said, leave a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. And go follow us on all the social medias. And if you guys want to DM us, feel free to. We're going to answer you guys. If it's nice messages, we do appreciate all of those that we have been getting. So keep doing that. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.